Backstreet's back. Chris, you're back.
Backstreet's back. All right. Yes, I am back, Tony, from 4 fantastic weeks out in Asia. And delighted to be back. I was particularly happy to be back to, I think it was like 6 or 7 degrees at the end of April last week.
Oh, dearie me, yeah, the weather's been absolutely terrible. It's been wet, windy, grim. I actually felt kind of like quite negative. And the weather does have that effect on people, especially when it's this bad and bitter. It kind of makes you bitter.
Some people do have SAD, seasonal affective disorder, I believe it's called. And I think just for anybody, you look out the window now, it's blue sky today, to be fair. And it just cheers you up, doesn't it, Tony?
Yeah, I always think about my English literature class, and I always remind myself of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley.
Yeah.
Because she used this thing called pathetic fallacy. When there's like a bad weather, it's kind of reflecting how the main character's feeling type of thing.
And so you've kind of embodied that yourself.
in a way, I don't know. Every time I think of the weather, I think about my emotions, and I think about Mary Shelley and Frankenstein and the Enlightenment period or something like that. But yeah, episode 24, and it's good to have you back, Chris.
Well, I'm glad to be back, but I did very much enjoy weeks and weeks of 30 plus degrees, sunshine, orangutans. I know you even mentioned that on the show last week with Dr. Ding, but I did indeed encounter orangutans, and you were actually quite right to warn me about them, because here's what happened. We went to an orangutan sanctuary in Sarawak in Borneo, and what happened, we saw loads of orangutans.
Yeah.
You kind of have a 2-hour slot where you can go in and the tour guides will show everybody around. At the very end, we're exiting up the road, bit of a hill, and there's a Chinese couple in front of us, and they start pointing. I was like, what are they pointing at? An orangutan has jumped down from the trees. It's coming towards us.
Oh.
On the road. We should share this video on our Instagram or YouTube, whatever. The orangutan comes sweeping down. And the next thing, other tourists behind are running towards this orangutan. The guide has to come up, shouting, screaming, "Don't do it. Back off, back off." Because there are 2 rules that we were told at the beginning. Do not feed the orangutans. Do not approach the orangutans.
So they went against what the rules were.
They went against every rule, the basic rules about orangutans. And these things can snap your neck in half, Tony.
Well, these sound like typical Chinese tourists. Not following the rules. I'm just kidding.
No comment.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I said, and I will repeat it again because it's important. Safety first.
It is paramount. It is paramount.
What are these tourists hoping to achieve by running towards an orangutan? What, to touch it, to take a closer photo?
The only disappointing thing is, because I've recorded the whole thing, if the guide hadn't intervened, we'd have really gone proper viral.
You would have had it on video, wouldn't you?
I would have had it on video, an orangutan having a very tasty lunch. And I'm sure he's used to Malaysian food, but he may not be used to Chinese food quite as much, straight from China.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if... Are there cases... I don't know if actually monkeys eat human. I mean, they will tear a human up, but essentially play with their food. I don't know if they would have a little nibble.
By the way, what else did I see? Crocodiles. And I can confirm, it's been told to me that the crocs will rip humans up and eat them. And what they'll do, they'll rip you apart a bit, but they won't completely kill you. They'll just drag you along and leave you somewhere, and then rip you apart a bit more, and then leave you another couple of days.
Oh, this is quite scary when they do that roll, don't they? They grab a bit and then they start rolling. Imagine it'll just take off your arm.
It's just a nightmare.
But great, sounds like you have an adventurous holiday. I mean, one of the things that I always like in a holiday is, what are the shopping options? I mean, were there some malls and stuff that you saw? I'm guessing not in Borneo.
For all our listeners, I kept in constant communication with Tony. And I know that your favourite thing is shopping malls. So I was working remote, obviously not on the podcast, but on other stuff, for a couple of weeks in Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. And actually, I'd say Last year I was in Bangkok as well. I think Bangkok's your place for malls. That's your best one. But KL had a lot of good malls, if you're into that kind of thing. And in both KL and Bangkok, you get some quite good eateries, like food courts within the malls, particularly in Bangkok. So yeah, I'd say Bangkok's, Kuala Lumpur's got a lot of new malls, if that's what you're into as well. And our Airbnb was right next to a mall. It was one of the newest malls, Lalaport, which I found out is actually a Japanese. There's loads of Lalaports in Japan. And now there's one in K. It had all the brands, and it was basically empty the whole time. But it was during Ramadan. So I don't know if that was the reason why I didn't go back at the end. And I feel like Singapore stood still a bit, Tony, because it's obviously a small area. There's only so much you can keep building. So maybe a lot of the malls and different things were built 10, 20, 30 years ago in Singapore. Whereas in KL, Bangkok, they just keep building.
So they're the newest malls, where the Singapore ones, they were quite early in the game. They're looking a bit...
And I need to look this up.
Not shiny.
Yeah, not quite as shiny, not quite as smart. Singapore, you need to dial down the aircon and make it colder. Because in KL or Bangkok, if you step out of the boiling streets and into a mall, you're instantly refreshed and cold. In Singapore, I didn't think it was turned down enough. It took me ages to cool down inside the malls.
Oh, I keep feeling it makes it turn down.
Turn down the temperature to make it even colder.
Then you get to a certain point where do you feel like you need to wear something more inside the mall?
Not for me. Okay. For my missus, she gets quite cold, and she did accuse me of trying to freeze her to death in the hotel room. That's fine, because obviously you can control the aircon really easily in your hotel room. But Tony, I think you'd love it. I think particularly KL, Singapore, you might love. But Sarawak was my highlight, and you can even stay in a hotel in the middle of the rainforest. So this is kind of like what I like of, it's a Marriott, very cheap, but it's a 5-star Marriott, so everything's luxurious. Brilliant room, no creepy crawlies can get in, which I know you'd be worried about. Yeah. But you're right next to the rainforest, you can go hiking the next day straight away, and buffet breakfast. And the buffet breakfast has all the Malaysian foods, which is Chinese, Indian, Malay, and you've got your Western fare as well. So for somebody like me, it's at least 2 courses. I've got to go Asian and Western. And baked beans was available in every hotel I went to.
What hotel does... I mean, I made a conscious decision not to go for the typical full English. But you still needed to have a little touch of home. I would never order it, but because it's an unlimited buffet, I just go out 5 times. I'll have my nasi lemak. I'll have my mee noodles. I'll have my fried rice as well. Then I'll go up and get... and they'll even do things like curry. Morning curry, why not?
Curry. Why the hell not? But, Tony, no pork. It's obviously Muslim country.
Oh, no bacon.
No bacon, no pork sausages. So quite often you have chicken sausages. Horrible.
They get around, they've got turkey bacon in some places.
I've seen that as well.
It's not the same, though.
Yeah, obviously I don't want to offend anybody, but... if you don't eat pork, you're missing out. But don't eat pork if it's your religious belief.
I think the religion will probably trump any kind of temptation. But, I've seen a lot of cases where, vegetarians or vegans, mostly vegetarians, who are tempted back to have meat, and it's always been bacon. It's always been bacon. It's always been the one that is the one that is...
so good.
Open up that gate.
You know what? I haven't had it. You right to point this out. I haven't had it in weeks, 5-6 weeks. Bacon. That means probably even longer.
How are you feeling?
I knew there was something wrong with me recently. I just couldn't put my finger on what it was.
I remember one of the things that you said, because obviously you went to all parts of Asia, but Singapore is something that I've been to. I've only been to Singapore for 2 days when I was 5. There's something wrong with the plane. We was on the way to Vietnam. I do vaguely remember Singapore, but obviously Singapore is quite an affluent place from what I
very much
remember, and still is. But wasn't there something interesting that you saw that, I don't know,
connects to us?
Yeah.
Connects to us, Tony, because what are we trying to do on this journey? Our mission is to become wealthy by winning the lottery.
Yeah.
And actually in Singapore, they have the Fountain of Wealth, And this fountain actually used to be kind of one of the main tourist attractions there before they built all this new stuff. They have gardens by the bay, the Marina Bay Sands, all that stuff. And the Fountain of Wealth, according to Chinese feng shui experts, this fountain has water flowing inwards, and water flowing inwards represents riches pouring in. So people would run through this Fountain of Wealth to get wealth and prosperity. Which I thought was quite interesting, Tony, because it's just another approach to take. But is that proactive enough? Because we know, okay, it might be a long shot, but we're putting our name in the hat every damn week to win the lottery. If you just run through a fountain, is that good enough?
Just do both, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you run? You didn't run into it.
Yeah, I did probably like 10 times per day.
Oh, that's good. Just dip your toe in at least. You let some part of your body touch the water.
No, I just ran through the whole thing nude to make sure that every single part of my body was touched.
So you were soaked in luck, hopefully.
Absolutely, and prosperity.
No, that's great. I mean, we need every type of help we can get, really. So that's good that we've got some type of blessing from this fountain
from the Chinese gods.
Brilliant. Obviously, you're on this great trip, but obviously, myself and Dr. Ding, we obviously had the fort covered, and we talked a lot about personality types.
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah,
I listened on the plane home, and it really sped the whole thing up.
Were we correct on your personality type by any chance?
I can believe it. So obviously, you started out guessing my personality type, and you were getting a bit rogue here. Ding, Dr. Ding, obviously, we've met once, but we're yet to get to know each other better, and we will. But I think you still are on the right track, and you got it absolutely spot on in the end, which is ENFP. But just one interesting point on that, because obviously we dived into this last week. It was fascinating. Anybody who hasn't listened, tune in. And we'll probably touch on it again, because I think we'll get Dr. Ding back on both of us in the future. I've actually progressed over the years in an interesting direction, personal progression from ENFJ to ENFP.
Okay.
And J is the judging, and I think P is the prospecting. And what it basically means is I've progressed a little bit from planning ahead methodically to actually being more spontaneous, living in the moment. You think, that can't be true, that's going the wrong way. But in actual fact, I think it's true, Tony. I really think I've just got less patience now for planning methodically, and it's like, let's just enjoy ourselves. Let me just enjoy that. I'm just going to live in the moment. And actually, one of my learnings from this trip is, next time I go, do I need to book everything out? Or do I need to just book the first few days, turn up, and then decide on the fly? Because a couple of times we double booked on this one, because we planned ahead, and we've got to go and do this. Why not? I think that could be so exciting.
Well, I think the spontaneity bit is, I think it does have your vibe to it, and that is part of the whole experience, right? If that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. You went from more like, I want to plan this, to like in your your oldest where you are now, that
old
you're
age.
like...
Old age. Chris old age.
You're like, I'll just go with the flow, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And do you think that you prefer that now?
Yeah.
Interesting. I feel like I've gone the other way.
Yeah.
I'm like more of a planner. I think it's almost like, I'm getting older, I have to be a bit more careful on what I do and just plan everything out. Maybe it's just something that... there's no right or wrong answers here.
No!
Whatsoever. So that's your ENFP. You're always going to be an extrovert, I thought, from the very beginning. You seem to get your energy from people.
And that's what that is. People sometimes misinterpret that of, are you outgoing or are you shy?
Yeah.
But in actual fact, you can be a shy extrovert. It just means that you get your energy off other people. Are you drained in the presence of other people? I.e., you can have a fantastic time, but after a while you're a bit drained. You need to go home for a few days and recharge. Or if you get stuck on your own at home for too long, you're itching to get back out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's super interesting with that one. And there is another test that I did. I think it's the insights test that I need to read up. It's this 18-page thing, but You said you said it's quite accurate, so I need to look at that, and I'll report back in future episodes.
And what we'll do is we'll come back for another episode with Dr. Ding on the Insights personality test as well, and a complete breakdown for Dr. Ding.
Yeah, she can.
Did she have a breakdown or?
Oh no!
After reading her personality test results.
No, she'll probably help us break down this 18-page document. But one thing that I did say, I think, about myself with the whole planning thing about train stations. What are your thoughts on that? Because I like to get there early.
Yeah, that was really interesting point because Dr. Ding said that, Tony boy, why did you drag us early to a train station? What was that? Train stations are the best places in the world.
I totally agree.
It's great for train spotting. They've got all the top trusted brands for you to dine out, shop.
I'm not that sad as a train spotter. I just want to get there early so I can have a Burger King or McDonald's. You're saying you're a train spotter?
Maybe.
That's not a bad thing. I'm just kidding. I saw in Bristol, I saw a load of people running when this train stopped. I'm like, where's people running?
Yeah.
They were running to take a photo of it. I'm like, these are what people enjoy. That's fine.
I must say that people slag off British trains. There's nothing better than when you get on one of those comfortable British trains. You go right to the back of it. You're on your own in the carriage. You sit back. You relax. You get your phone out. You do some reading. You listen. I love it.
I thought you were going to say get your phone out and start playing your music out loud. I thought, you're one of those.
Never.
Okay, great. I mean, the only other thing that I would say, this is setting us up for the topic of the week. And what is our topic of the week later, Chris?
Our topic of the week this week, Tony, is would you get a personal shopper were you to win the lottery? And we've touched on this before, but I think something to set us up is some news that you read this week, isn't it?
So this inspired me for our topic of the week later, and it was a place that I actually shop quite a bit, and it's Sainsbury's, and they actually released.
I thought you were going to say M&M World.
A second. If only I had the coconut M&Ms in London. But Sainsbury's said that almost everyone now shops in store.
Yeah, so I was shocked by this thing because I thought COVID had kind of been a bit of a turning point and a shift in that respect.
Yeah. So they're saying like 13% does the online shop. And I thought that was very interesting because I thought it would actually grow in more popularity. But it seems like, and I've spoken to a few colleagues saying that, they don't want people touching up their veg or they're not getting the most freshest veg. And I thought, convenience of having something delivered, is it really that convenient? Because it can be a bit of a faff sometimes, just going online, having to choose what you want, being to get delivered, and sometimes they don't have it in the bags and you've got to kind of...
I would say you're right. I think conversely, it's almost like maybe planners are the ones who online shop for their food because, and I do this as well actually, mainly because it just works out so much more convenient and cheaper. But you do have to put aside maybe 20 minutes on the weekend when you might have other things you want to do, and you say, right, I'm going to order this in for Sunday night or Monday night. And we're going to get everything we need. But you can methodically plan it. You say, right, what meals are we having this week? You don't have to faff around looking where are the eggs. You can just type in eggs. You've got it saved on your list. Your favourites. And I do sometimes use Sainsbury's, usually for the big online shop. But it depends if you've got a car. So we live in London, we don't have a car.
That's so true.
So do you think that I'm going to go... I've got two options if I don't do an online shop. Turning up once a week, going quite far for me to get to a big supermarket and lugging it all back, or going every day or every other day to the small one where it's more expensive. You tell me, maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah, obviously in our topic of the week later, we could go through some of the comments on Reddit about really giving us an insight on why people would rather go to a physical shop than letting, I guess you could call it a personal shopper, do your own shopping for you for that extra convenience. Right, if we move on to our last Saturday's Lotto result, so what was the jackpot from last Saturday's draw? It was a double rollover. 7.1 million.
Can't believe it.
What were the winning numbers? So it was 2, 15, 18, 25, 57, 58, and the bonus pool was 53.
I mean, Tony, we're finally getting some with 7 million double rollover. I just hope nobody won it.
Oh, actually,
We'll come to that. We'll come to that.
We will come to that. But, the machine name was Guinevere,
Again.
and the ball set was 4. What were your thoughts on seeing Guinevere again?
We just keep saying Guinevere. She's coming up again and again. I'm really excited every single time that I see Guinevere come up. Do you know why?
Why?
Because obviously we know that Camelot have lost the license, and Allwyn are now the license holders for the lottery. And we've been absolutely terrified that they're going to remove the Knights of the Round Table and all the mythical elements of it. And every time I see Guinevere or Arthur or whatever it is, I'm excited because they're keeping the traditions alive.
I think there should be more young girls or guys being called Guinevere. It's not a name that you hear often.
No,
right?
it's
They should bring it
not.
back. Bring it back.
No, definitely.
So what were my numbers? So numbers were 1, 2, 8, 30, 31, and 50. And we matched one number, which is number 2. But
I thought at least having a doctor on would have helped.
yeah, it would have had.
Yeah, a bit of gravitas.
I mean, yeah, maybe for. I don't know. Yeah, what would a doctor bring? A bit more kind of credibility.
Credibility
to
to, you know, the gods who are listening to us.
help a doc. Who wouldn't want to help a doctor out? We could help the NHS. We could donate some.
Yeah. Would we?
I don't know. Probably not. They'll just spaff it off on something. You know, it's already badly
Consultants.
managed. Yeah.
Consultants.
But yes, I'm happy to say, Chris, is that there were 0 winners of the jackpot.
Thank God for that.
So it's got to roll over again.
Thank God for that. So we've got a chance.
So we've got it's double figures for next Saturday, or if it doesn't, someone doesn't win it on Wednesday. Right. So there were some comments from our YouTube channel, Chris.
Well, obviously we've been off for a few weeks, and we've had emails just popping off like mad in our bulging bag, and lots of comments, DMs, everything popping all over the place. But yeah, I just wanted to go on one that was just from last week, I think, Tony, which was YouTube comments. So we posted a video from a previous episode about the dating dilemma on splitting the bill.
Yeah.
And just remind our listeners, so it was from a message from Ting who'd got in touch, and Ting said...
Well, it was talking about, from a female perspective, if she was on a date, she would split the bill with the guy if she didn't like him.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like going, I don't want to take a fight, we go our separate ways. But she would let the guy cover the whole bill if she did like him. Yeah. So there would be a second date where she would get the next one.
Yeah, love it.
So I can actually see that perspective.
No, I really can.
And what were the comments, Chris?
Well, actually, Shady K-pop fan quite agreed with you and with Ting.
Yeah.
She said, I do that too, 6 exclamation marks. My friends do that too. We are millennials and 1 Gen Z. So thank you, Shady K-pop fan. We got another one in from Joshua Baumgartner. I presume it's spelled is it Josiah? Might be Josiah. I don't really know this name. But
sounds biblical.
he's got his face on there and everything. So thank you for this.
He does look like a Josiah.
He does. He said, Tony, this is such a stupid waste of time to discuss. Well, thank you. We spent a lot of hours prepping on that one. Just do what feels right to you and communicate like an adult, and everything will work out great. Well, he's very positive, but that's not always the case. And as you can hear from Shady K-pop fan, from Ting, people are thinking about this. They want to play the game a little bit, I think, Tony. Boys and girls.
Totally agree. I think if dating was that simple, and everyone acts like adults, then
we'd all be married within 2 weeks of our adulthood, and the divorce rate would be 0%.
Yeah, I mean, then you wouldn't have all these kind of dating shows or like drama. People love drama.
Yeah,
and people, when you're younger, let's be honest, people like to play a bit of a game. They're never going to show their cards.
Psychology to it, and sometimes it's a bit of the thrill of the chase and all these different psychological things coming in. Josiah, why don't you tell us? Are you married?
Yeah.
You're old enough, I think, by looking at the photo, you're at least... Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe, but let's hear his dating history.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he probably has an idealized view on things. That, oh yeah, of course, who wouldn't want that? But it's just not the reality. Imagine that you go to first date. Oh, can we just be adults here? Like, are we going to split? Should we split this like adults? Are you feeling? Do you like me? I like you? Shall we just?
One thing's for sure: if I went on a date with Josiah, I wouldn't be paying a penny. Because this is a stupid person. No, I'm kidding. And then we had another one from Hayden Schulze. And this time, I think, I don't know what to say about this. It doesn't really make a great deal of sense. No. Is this just proof that women lie even when answering questions without their face attached? That there are not many women in the West who would even bring their wallet with them on a date. Well, Hayden, you sound like a bit of an incel. Isn't it, incels? We've talked about these people on the show before. And without their face attached, I don't know what that means.
I think maybe like in person.
Right. So they lie when answering questions when they're not in person.
I don't know. It's this guy, or is this proof that women lie when answering questions without their... Okay, maybe they said they lie in text, maybe they lie in face to face. But, maybe he's been burned quite a few times. It affects your experience, kind of really is kind of molded from what, from his dating history. Maybe that's been the case. He's felt he's been taken advantage of. And don't get me wrong, there is some truth that some women actually probably don't bring any money. Maybe. On with they're expecting the guy to pay.
And maybe there's some men who do the same. Yeah. We can't comment.
Yeah, is that right or wrong? I don't know. It depends if you're willing to accept that.
It just depends.
Yeah, it depends.
It just depends. But Hayden, Matt, what I'm thinking, Tony, is maybe we should become dating gurus for people like Hayden.
Yeah.
Clearly, Josiah doesn't need it, but it does seem we just get on YouTube some of these crazy people commenting where they come across as a bit crazy. And maybe
but we love it.
We love it, and we encourage everybody to engage with our show. As long as they like and subscribe, they can say whatever they want, right?
Yeah, I mean, your opinion matters.
Freedom of speech.
And, the only regulator is YouTube. I mean, they'll do, if they won't publish from it,
Yeah. So that was some of the engagement we had on that one. But, Tony, I think... we should move on right now to our topic of the week, which, as I said, is would you get a personal shopper if you won the lottery?
So I think this actually was inspired from something that you said maybe a good 20 episodes ago. I think it was something about, what would you spend your money on, and, the idea of a personal shopper. And these things, these services do exist. And it seems like something that you would go, oh, I'd only get a personal shopper because if I won the lottery, because it's really for the wealthy and the rich, right?
Yeah.
However, doing some research is actually not the case, actually, a lot of the time. Yeah. So I actually looked at the Harrods website, Selfridge's website, and the John Lewis website, and they have these personal shopping.
Yeah, of course.
Services.
Thousands of pounds, right?
Yeah. No, it's actually free.
You are winding me up.
Yeah. I mean, could you not? I mean, let's look at the Harrods one. And, if those who are interested, people everyone knows Harrods, right? But people that don't know, Harrods is, how do you describe it? It's
a luxury department store in the heart of West London, Knightsbridge. Is it Knightsbridge?
Yeah, it's Knightsbridge. And is it still owned by Mohammed Al?
No, he's may he rest in peace. I think he got rid of it a few years ago.
Oh, is he dead?
May he rest in peace, Mohammed Al Fayed.
The son. Well.
Oh, you're talking about the son. Dodi's definitely dead too.
Yeah. That was.
I shouldn't laugh.
That was 1997, right?
Yeah.
No, it was the 90s.
It was 97.
It was Prince Diana. Yeah. But yeah, it even says here, and frequently asked questions. So it says, do I have to pay to use the personal shopping service?
Yeah.
Of course, you think, Harrods, they would probably want a certain wealthy clientele, probably very selective. That just says, no. Our personal shopping service is complimentary to all customers and there is no minimum spend required. But it says customers, so do you have to be a customer first? Or is that everyone? Who knows?
It's a bit of legalese in it. Yeah. It sounds like, I think, it's just the word for everyone, isn't it? So
that was actually a bit of a
revelation.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, so I can just go to Harrods and go, like, can
rock up.
I just get a personal shopper, please, to help me buy stuff? And it kind of makes sense if you actually aren't sure and you want to spend money.
And if they give you a list, you just say, right, great, thank you. At the end of the session, you say, this is really helpful. You have put together for me my 20-year plan of what I want to buy.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to buy one item a year.
But how would you know what's still in fashion?
Well, that's part of it, but it's fine. You just say, look.
They just update the Excel sheet as every year goes by.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep up to it. Selfridges, obviously, is quite a popular department store. I've got a lot of footballers go there as well. I've seen. I remember seeing Theo Walcott going there one time.
Yeah.
So they even say, you know, on the actual personal shopping website, it says, for curating the new season, celebrating a big moment, or completely overhauling your style, book an appointment with our dedicated team of fashion and lifestyle experts. So, again, it is a service. You know, we've won the lottery, or you're rich. How do you know what's hot or trending? I know, Chris, you're very on the pulse with these things.
I'm pretty on the pulse with anything fashion related.
But then if you're like, help me out. And if you're someone that is not from the UK, they've got multilingual personal shoppers as well.
Oh my God.
Yeah, any way to get your money. And look at this. You can actually have a look at who your team is.
Oh, who would you pick out of these four?
So they've got 4 people here. They've got Maha.
Creative styling. She's into design, fashion.
English and Arabic.
Oh, nice.
They've got money there. Yeah. People in the UAE and stuff.
Yeah.
You got Lexi. She's obviously got bleached hair.
Style.
She's quite young.
Yeah.
Oversized suiting. I'm not sure what that means.
So that is oversized. I feel like she's more like the trendy. She only speaks English, maybe the trendy British one.
Yeah. And then you've got Christian, and he looks like, what is this? A kind of kimono bathrobe thing. That's a cardigan.
Fresh perspective on timeless menswear stuff. I guess he's just the menswear guy.
His flair for building individual looks
spans menswear, accessories, and homeware. Right, okay.
Just English only. And then you've got Maxine, who looks a bit more mature.
Yeah.
So she is specialised in everyday outfitting and the joys of dressing up. Her expertise lies in menswear, women's wear, and gifting.
Right.
Decades of experience, clearly.
Well, clearly. Yeah.
Working across generations. You know,
all generations, so she can go right to the top end. Yeah.
Interesting one that there isn't one for like the Chinese market, because that was quite
shocked because it's a multilingual, but the only 2 languages we've got are English and Arabic. Now I can see Arabic. You know, a lot of people who come to London in the summer to cool down a bit from the Middle East.
Yeah.
And a lot of them own property, don't they, in London?
Oh, yeah.
And they love shopping. You've been to UAE recently, haven't you?
Yeah, it's so many designer brands there.
But Chinese, I think, would be a big one. Should we pitch that in?
You know what? I've walked through a department store one time, and I think it was Liberty. And that's not really that high market. So off Regent Street.
Yeah.
Guy was clearly a guy that works there. He started speaking to me in Chinese.
Oh, no.
No, but he was a Western guy, Caucasian guy. But clearly he knows Chinese to help with the selling. You know, because they've got a lot of Chinese tourists have money, right?
That's awful. What did you say to him? Did you whack him?
I said, did you just assume that I was just Chinese? By the way, I was like, I'm very offended. Who's your manager? No, you should ask first. Because what type of Chinese are you? I'm just kidding. No.
He said, did you want me to speak in the Hokkien dialect?
So I guess for our listeners out there is that if you are interested in having a taste of luxury or
luxury,
what it'd be like to be, a person with money to use a service like this, you can.
Tony, the only question I have is, isn't there an expectation?
Yes.
Can you really go through that whole personal shopping session when, let's say, this personal shopper is most likely on commission and you leave at the end of it having spent diddly squat? There's that kind of social contract you've almost signed when you actually turn up at this session and I don't even know what the minimum spend you'd expect. Maybe we can get one of these personal shoppers on the show to talk to us.
Well, that's what Harry says. There's no minimum spend, but that's a great point, Chris. Because I'm just saying that. What if you came into the shop looking like a homeless person?
Julia Roberts, sort of thing, Pretty Woman.
Or even worse.
Even worse.
And is this Maybe they get a kick out of like it's an 80s makeover movie. You know, let's dress them up. You know, the vibe.
I think if we went in, we'd probably be similar to that sort of vibe anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be like, really?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be like,
can you afford anything in this
can I
store?
see your bank account?
Yeah. Proof of funds.
But you're right. I mean, the whole idea of social contract. You know, I always think of the idea of like one of those food stalls. They'll give you a little bit. So I'll have a piece of chicken, and then you're like, oh yeah, I've got to buy the whole meal now because I had a taste. If it tastes all right, that is.
Yeah.
So,
but that's actually a really good point, Tony, because I've just started thinking. You know, you get those little samples.
Yeah.
It's like a tiny bit of chicken. How many do they get out of one meal? You see what I mean? If they cut that into like 20, and they charge a tenner for a meal, each one's worth 50p.
Yeah.
So they only need 1 out of 20 to actually go and buy the meal to be break even.
Yeah, clearly.
I mean, something like
you could call it like marketing costs or spillage or whatever. But I was thinking like
probably better than we think, mate. Probably more worth it than we think.
You could almost. I used to assume, it's probably like the crap stuff or it's out of date, but it can't be because if you give you the crap stuff, you won't go and buy the milk. It has to be good stuff.
Yeah. And that's one of those key marketing principles. I can't remember what the name of what it is. You know those 7.
What, the 4 Ps?
The 4 Ps. Yeah.
What, price, place, product.
No,
that's different.
It's not 4 Ps. It's something else. We'll come back to it at the end.
But you mentioned Pretty Woman because that does remind me of that, the theme where she was looking at and she they turned her nose up at her and like, oh, what are you doing here? And then she comes back and she's bought a load of stuff in another competitor's store and look at what you missed out on. Also reminds me of Oprah Winfrey. Remember the story about Oprah Winfrey?
No.
You don't know this story? She walked into, I can't remember what part of the world, it must be Eastern Europe or Russia somewhere.
You bring her up at the moment. What's going on?
But this is relevant to shopping. She goes into the store, designer handbag store.
Yeah.
She asked one of the shop assistants to go, oh, can I have a look at the bag? And they're like, no, you can't afford this.
No way.
She could buy the whole shop if she
Yeah.
wanted to. So I find that very interesting. Like, you never judge. I think that the person stylist might go, this person probably dressing down. Like they might, you never know. They might have a load of money that you've just turned your nose up at.
Yeah.
Another film that reminds me of all this kind of makeover stuff is Curly Sue. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
Never heard of it. No.
It's 80s movie. I think it's John Belushi or James Belushi, and he's got like a little adopted girl, and they're homeless, and then this lawyer kind of takes pity on them and takes them in, and they go through this kind of 80s makeover and this thing. It's quite good.
Fantastic.
And then
Miss Congeniality.
Yeah, she has a makeover, doesn't she?
Yeah, that's another one.
I do like those scenes, and I think they should bring them back. In when was the last time you saw like a good makeover? Like they take them
Tony,
shopping.
I'm just so fed up with hearing these superhero reboots, or what was that other one? Godzilla versus King Kong. Yeah. And then I saw something the other day that's another reboot of something or other. Let's get back to these humorous makeover things or rom-coms. What was wrong with all that 90s stuff?
You know what have you seen Crazy Stupid Love?
Yeah.
I love the scene where Ryan Gosling takes what's his face, Steve Carell out shopping.
Yeah.
And they got he's got the Velcro wallet. He gets in that.
And what year was that out? That's probably one of the most recent.
2011 or something.
11? Yeah, that's probably one of the most recent bloody.
He chucks over his New Balance sneakers off the thing, or he slaps his face because be better than the Gap.
Yeah.
But yeah, personal shopping, it does. You don't need a lot of money to engage in it.
But I just can't believe that's only what you said about Sainsbury's. So basically, at the height of COVID, I think it said 20% of people were shopping online, which I thought it would have even been higher than that. Mm-hmm. And now we're down to, what was it?
13%.
13%. Why? It's my question.
I think the internet has spoken about, if we talk about shopping and I guess having someone do the shopping for you, I think food is different from clothes and stuff like that when it's styling.
Yeah.
But I think one of the top comments here is they don't understand why this is the case though. It goes, delivery slots cost about £3 with some retailers.
Hey, I got it. I had one come last night. We said it was £1 saver slot Sainsbury's.
Oh, see, that's going to entice you more.
Yeah.
Because £3, that's almost like a bus there and back might cost you the same amount, right?
Yeah.
You could save yourself literally hours going out. The food prices are the same, I think. What am I missing? I think this is really what it boils down to. I can pick the exact item I want.
Yeah. So it's that with fruit and veg, and I have had this where you order 4 courgettes, and you just get the worst misshapen courgettes. But can I make a counterpoint?
Go on.
For me, unless we live in London, we live in the city. Unless you can get to a really big Sainsbury's, when you do an online shop, you actually have a wider choice.
Yeah.
Because if I go to my small one, or even the bigger one that's nearby in Woolwich, a bit of a, it's still like 20 minutes plus each way to get there, door to door. You don't have as much choice. So if I want courgettes, maybe you can only get the plastic bag of 4. What you can do online is you can literally say, for anything you want, I want 1 onion, I want 2 courgettes, I want 4 carrots. And those 4 carrots, they just come in a paper bag, whatever, and it costs 12p or something. Oh. You know what I mean? Rather than me paying 90p for 12 carrots.
Okay, so you're just going
to use a plastic bag. So I just get exactly what I want. And I can't do that if I go to the smaller Sainsbury's. It's fine if you live out of the city where there's a huge Tesco Extra or whatever the big Sainsbury's are called. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, and you're saving the planet as well. You're not using plastic.
You're saving the planet. But of course, what they're saying is you're going to get the misshapen one. People have fingered it before you get it.
Who knows? I mean, they could get frisky with a melon or something. Who knows?
Well, it's like American Pie. That was another great film. But, and you don't know what they're doing. That is a good point. You don't know what the pickers and packers are doing in the back room.
And a lot of people say they find it therapeutic or they enjoy the whole process of going to the shop. And it doesn't take literally hours. You come, if you know what you want.
1 hour, and you get used to going to the same place.
Yeah.
As long as it's not too busy. But I think if you read in this Reddit thread, people start talking about their experience of actually working as a picker and packer for the online shops. And it's basically like you have targets to hit.
Yeah.
So you have to quickly go around and grab a replacement. And you're actually assessed against 2 things. 1, getting it done in the allotted time. 2, have you given a substitution rather than, is it a good substitution?
Yeah. So you're not going to get, some people are worried about, are they getting the best for their money? Which leads me to almost a conclusion about, like, if you won the lottery and you are thinking of getting a personal shopper, get your own butler or person to actually drive there. And you give them specific instructions, going like, I only want this type of carrot, it has to be like this, or it has to be this type of onion. And they will actually hand pick it to your specification. Even give you a video. They'll be like, I'm live online on WhatsApp, Chris. How does this onion look? You'll be like, no, let me look at the other one behind it. And then they'll keep showing. And then they'll pack it up how you want and then drive it back to your house.
But this is just I think this is a fantastic point.
Yeah. That will cost money though. So this is it worth it?
Tony, if you've won the lottery.
Yeah.
But I was just going to say that's just another counterpoint of this, because we did talk to people about this earlier.
Yeah.
Are you telling me you don't believe the goods have been fingered like crazy in the store before you get to them? People have had their mitts all over them. They're in an open box.
Yeah.
So maybe they've been fingered less in the back room. Where do you think that there's more fingering going on, in the back room or in the open space?
It really depends.
In the front office.
All I'm saying is that there are cases, and I've seen my mum do this.
She's fingered.
No, it'd be like any type of product.
In Sainsbury's.
She'll spend ages looking through all of them, and then end up, in the end of it all, just go back to the one that she looked at and just buying that.
And she's fingered it.
Well, it's packaged. It depends what it is. It could be a jug of milk or whatever.
Okay.
But it's like this idea. I mean, again, this is a bit of a not a really connected point. It's the idea of like people having a go at certain chefs of food or people that serve food. That you should be wearing gloves while you're handling food, and then you look at some of the finest sushi chefs omakase, 300 quid. It's all hands. You're paying what?
So 300.
As long as you wash your hands, it's fine.
Peach? Did you finger any peach in the?
No, we don't buy peaches. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I guarantee you, there's more choice if you shop online on Sainsbury's than at least if you go to a smaller one. So yeah, I don't think they're talking crap. All these idiots.
Well, the thing is that if less people are shopping online for food, there's more slots for people that do want to.
Yeah, because
So
I remember
enough.
in COVID, you had to book like a week ahead, didn't you?
Oh yeah, some of it. I think Ocado was down. You can get on.
Yeah, you had to be on a wait list or whatever. So my God.
Right. So, if we move on to segment 3, which is picking next week's numbers, and we've got 6 tasty stories.
And I have to disclaimer here because I've been on holiday.
Yeah.
Until really just hours ago. Tony's picked all of these 6 numbers out, but I'm going to speak to some of them at the end.
Oh no, definitely. I'll do the first 3, and you can do the last 3. So my first one is 5 family members die one after the other after jumping into a well to save a cat in India.
Well, Tony, survival of the fittest.
Well, first of all, I mean, who wouldn't
And they
help
all
a
died.
cat? Yeah, and do you know how they died? Do you know what? I mean, you jump in a well. I mean, do you want to be curious how they actually did they fall and break?
Don't run after pussy.
Well, there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
I mean, cat or human life. I mean, I think if you've got quite an attachment to your pet, well, who wouldn't want to save an animal if you could? But this well is actually full of. It's called a biogas pit containing animal waste in Wadiki village. So this is a well full of shit, basically.
Yeah.
So you are in for a bad time if you land in that. You're gonna get some type of disease, or you're
it's a
going to die.
poisonous space then.
Yeah, it's basically jumped into a well of poison.
Yeah.
And my question is that, it goes here, one of the family members had to climb into the well first before formal followed suit, but ultimately they were all left trapped. So, first of all, you need to work out how am I going to get out of this? Is there a ladder long enough? But I'm looking at the pictures of this, and it looks rather crazily kind of deep and dirty. So
Filthy, to be honest.
it's a sad scenario that they 5 people died for a cat. But I think the learning here is that sometimes you've got to let things die.
As I say, survival of the fittest. If you're that stupid that your entire family is going to jump one after the other in to save a pussy cat, then quite frankly you deserve to die. There's one sole survivor identified as Vijay Manik Kel.
So the 6th person survived.
A 6th person survived. Authorities suspect the group of 5 fell unconscious due to the poisonous gases. You don't say. People in the nearby village heard the family's groans and yells as they complained of suffocation. Well,
How grim is that to die in a well full of shit?
yeah, it's not the best way. It's probably the worst way, more or less.
Actually, would you even want to still be alive after that, though?
Trauma, Tony?
Would it just kind of be soaked into your skin? Or
Yeah,
you
eke into you. You need plastic surgery or the whole works.
Imagine some of it. In any, when you jump into the water, some of it gets in your.
It can't be worth it.
Sorry, those who have lunch or dinner. But yeah, 5 is the number there because 5 people sadly died. Cool. Next one is sport related, Chris. And I know I've really been into sport lately because Arsenal has had a run of great results.
Yeah.
Newcastle 5-1 was it?
Yeah, it's one of the best things in Kuala Lumpur when it was the 12 o'clock kickoffs. Perfect time. So we sat out and watched Newcastle hammer Spurs the other week, 4-0. But yeah,
Who hasn't hammered Spurs, right?
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right.
And the great thing about football and sport, I love how it brings people together. Like everyone can just in football. I think everyone around the world just loves football, right?
Yeah. I mean, they love it out there. They love it all over Asia. I think.
So this was an interesting story where, I mean, Iran. Yeah, it had to be Iran, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fines football player for hugging female fan for 3 seconds.
Oh, Tony.
So. Okay, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. This Iranian football player, he has been also temporarily suspended and fined in the Islamic Republic's Premier League for hugging a female fan who jumped onto the field. So she jumped onto the field. He didn't come chasing after her. Hossein Hosseini, the Degalhalal FC goalkeeper faced disciplinary action from the Federation's Committee for the Swift Hug. The committee deemed his actions unprofessional and beyond the legal duties of a player, leading to the fine of 3 billion. Wow, real. How much is that? Equivalent to 4,500.
There you go.
He was also suspended for 1 match. I mean, she's not even wearing a headscarf. How is that? Anyway, sorry.
We can't get into it.
I don't know what the details are, but this is his reply is that, following that sort of penalty, he expressed his willingness to pay the fine. I will pay the fine for the sake of that woman fan, he said. However, the situation escalated further as the Iranian official news agency RNN reported that Hosseini could face additional penalties for saying that, and he was fined again. You keep digging himself a grave. If he never said...
I'll pay the fine for the sake of that woman fan.
Oh, and he even goes on to say that the incident occurred last week when the female fan without a hijab, I saw that first, breached security measures and approached Hosseini on the field. So she's a bit wild to do all those things.
Yeah, can we watch it just to see what... Oh, here we go. Yeah, we can share this link out if anybody asks. There's nothing... She's a brief embrace. She wasn't very calm. She was excited to arrive on the pitch. Here we go. I don't know. I just don't know what...
It's chaos on the field.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think she's been quite bold to actually obviously not wear a hijab. I don't know what the rules are over there.
Yeah.
Jump onto the field and even approach a male football player. But yeah, 3 seconds was what cost him, I guess, $4,500 and an additional fine, and banned for 1 match for a 3-second hug.
3 seconds is all it takes, Tony.
Yeah. But yeah, number 3 for that one.
And these are the rules. There are different rules depending on your belief system. Yeah. I'm all for freedom.
Yeah. I mean, these are rules of the land. If you are operating in that land, you've got to follow what the rules are.
Yeah, I'm all for freedom, Tony.
Yeah, freedom. Financial freedom is what we're after as well.
That is what we're after.
So my third one is animal related. And actually, did you see any hippos when you were around?
I didn't. I saw crocs, monkeys, orangutans, wild pigs, but no hippopotamuses.
Okay. So this one is titled "Male" in quotation marks hippo in Japan Zoo found to be female after 7 years. So this is weird because you would assume that people in a zoo would know that. But given the Japanese are so polite, maybe they don't want to offend someone saying, they just say it's...
But they do have masculine and feminine pronouns in Japanese.
And it's quite a masculine society.
Yeah,
so
I think you covered that last week, didn't you? You have to take the man's name and everyone's going to be called Sato.
Yeah, Sato.
In a couple of 100 years.
Maybe they thought there'll be some dishonour happening if they...
Oh, I see.
But
I mean, they're so huge, maybe it's difficult to actually figure it out.
Yeah, so Zoo in Japan has confirmed that hippopotamus thought for 7 years to be a he is, in fact, a she. DNA test was carried out after zoo people know that the 12-year-old Jen-chan did not display typical male hippo behaviour. What, can you just look between the legs?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
maybe they're so huge.
Jen-chan arrived in Osaka from Mexico in 2017 and customs documents at the time said she was male. We will keep doing our best to provide a comfortable environment to Jen-chan, the zoo said. So they were gone off basically the information that was given to them. But
hang on. Zookeepers got suspicious as Jen-chan got older and they could not visually identify male reproductive organs. But what about female organs? I don't know much about hippos.
But one must have a penis and
and the other...
Well, I don't know these days.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, who knows whether or not this hippo identified as one thing different to what they were assigned at birth. We don't know.
Well, one of the last paragraphs is according to Manchi newspaper, the zoo's vice director, Kiyoshi Yasufuku, said, "We recognise the importance of confirming the sex and we want to ensure that such mistakes will not happen again." So I'm not sure if I feel... I feel confident after that.
I'm not confident the zoo at all. And, you know, there's typical male hippo behaviour that should have been exhibited by Zhen Chen, which they describe as making courtship calls. That's what you'd expect to see. Or scattering feces around while defecating with a propeller-like tail motion in order to mark territory. Defecating with a propeller-like tail motion.
I've seen that on YouTube. I thought that was something wrong with the hippo, but clearly that's on purpose.
That's just normal.
I don't want to be around that. What's going on?
So yeah, that really is interesting.
So 7 years. I mean, it's taken that long to identify that. So that's the number 7 that I'm going
7 years is too long, baby.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Well, Tony, I'm really glad that you picked this next story out for me because this is hugely important, which is that man accused of murdering friend he thought summoned Bigfoot has been found guilty. So just to get this right, let's just get this whole thing. I think 2 people, friends, went on a fishing trip, right? I read through this earlier. 2 friends. One of the friends has told the other... Sorry, let's scrap that. One of the friends thinks that the other has summoned Bigfoot.
Yeah.
This is weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then an argument escalated, and one of the friends has murdered the other. So this is how remarkable this is. The Pontotoc County man who told investigators he killed his friend during a fishing trip because he thought the man was summoning Bigfoot to kill him was convicted Wednesday afternoon. Larry Sanders, 55, murdered Jimmy Knighton in July 2022. So let's just go through this because we need to verify and just be sure. Because if we go right to the end of this... you know, the state had argued Sanders made sure Knighton died by waiting to let go of a chokehold until he turned blue. Yes, there was monsters in the woods that night, but it wasn't Bigfoot, it was Larry Sanders. It's what?
I like it when they're trying to make a compelling statement.
Yeah, exactly. Which was District Attorney Eric Johnson who said that. You know what? I just want to be sure that Bigfoot wasn't there, you know?
You know what I find so funny about this is that he thought that his friend was colluding with Bigfoot to get him murdered. It's one of the things that I thought was quite funny about this was that they were on a fishing trip, and he Sanders said that Knighton had pointed out a fish to him, was telling him to go get that fish. Yeah. and then Sanders said that he was. And then he kept telling him to go get that fish. So that made him suspicious, saying that, is this fish bait for Bigfoot to come out and murder me?
This is the thing. So, and we've got to tell you, we shouldn't just dismiss this.
We weren't there.
Yeah, we weren't there. Sanders came to see a 12-foot-tall Bigfoot downstream, and he heard his friend Knighton howl into a drainage pipe. Now, could that have been a way that Knighton may have been communicating with the Bigfoot? But you have to wonder, given that we're quite sure that Bigfoot probably died. We can't confirm it. We're quite sure.
I thought you believed Bigfoot was...
Well, listen, the point being, what happened to Sanders here on this trip? Let's be honest, were they high? Did they find some mushrooms? They're a bit hungry on this fishing trip in the woods nearby. He thought he saw a 12-foot-tall Bigfoot downstream. Knighton pointed to a fish and was telling him to get that fish. When Sanders told Knighton he didn't want to get that fish, Knighton kept insisting. He began to feel suspicious and believed Knighton was planning on drowning him and floating his body downstream to feed him to Bigfoot.
Well, is it weird if you're on a fishing trip to go get that fish? That's weird. Why are you telling me to get a fish when we're on a fishing trip? But even with Bigfoot, if there is a Bigfoot, he clearly has to be working with people to hide his identity, or there must be some people covering for him. So the idea of someone colluding with Bigfoot, it's not out of the ordinary.
And in a drainage pipe, kind of makes sense, right? It's something you wouldn't expect.
There is element paranoia here, could be drug related, but who knows?
It could be, and if not, it's mental health, surely. So I don't know, obviously sentencing hearing is in June, facing life or life without parole, but it's a
bit much if your friend who murdered your friend go, I feel like he's trying to get me murdered by Bigfoot. But hey, you know.
It's we have to look into it, and we've got to make sure. Maybe we should get a Bigfoot Sasquatch expert. Remember, there's somebody who has a PhD in Sasquatch studies or something that we covered on the show before. We need to get them on just to make sure there wasn't a 12-foot tall Bigfoot. Because imagine this tragedy if, Knighton really was colluding with one of the Bigfoots, or Big Feet, in order to eat Sanders. And imagine the irony of that, Bigfoot coming and eating Sanders, given Colonel Sanders.
Oh, yeah. So the KFC dude, right?
Yeah. I don't know. We should
story.
We should circle back to this one, and I just remind everybody we had spoken about this on the show before, that Tony is willing to put himself out there if there are female Big Feet for the name of science to try and reproduce with and see if we can.
For science,
in the name of
science.
All right. So next one. This is also pretty shocking. Ohio company launches Terminator, a flame-throwing robot dog. And this is just so worrying. Again, we got robots. We had it the other week where a robot crushed a man to death in Japan.
Yeah.
Now, you tell me how that suddenly happened, that this robot was packing up cherries or fruit or something
peppers
on a conveyor belt, on a pallet. And the next thing, suddenly, from just packing up peppers, it goes to grabbing hold of a man and crushing him to death. So that's just one thing. Now, an Ohio-based flamethrower manufacturer has released what it says is the first ever robot dog with a flamethrower attached for remote fire starting.
Why would you want a fire start?
What?
Is this for war?
Now, this really does sound worrying, because suddenly we've got robot dogs going around just flamethrowing. $9,000, Tony, for this thing.
How is this legal?
I just don't understand why.
It looks cool, though. It's like Boston Dynamics. It's got a freaking laser pointer on its back
and
as well.
It just does. But it has to be for, war and...
Whoa, look at that.
It's beautiful. It's actually...
Imagine that letting loose in a building. That would just burn that building up.
Yeah, but it is available for individual or commercial use. It can set forests ablaze. I am become death, destroyer of worlds, a voiceover can be heard saying in a video released by Throwflame as the Terminator launches an arc of flame. I tell you, I mean...
I thought they got forest fires that they don't want in America.
Yeah, I thought, why would we need fires to be started unless it's for the barbecue or something like that?
You would need one for the other. I reckon you should have one where it has, how much water can you hold in its back? Maybe a hose. It'll go in to put out fires. Let's flip it on its head and make something positive out of this. But hey, it looks kind of cool. Maybe in a game, that looks quite cool.
I mean, the dog looks amazing. It's hopping about like crazy.
So it's Boston Dynamics, like dog, deer looking thing.
I'd love to just get the robot dog or deer or whatever, but it doesn't need to be starting fires. Yeah. What I would love is one that puts fires out, like you said, for the interests of fire safety.
Yeah.
What did we hear? There was a tragedy, wasn't there, in a nightclub some weeks ago where it went up in flames. We've had loads of issues with that in apartment blocks. Imagine you just have a load of robot dogs, one on every floor in the apartment block, and you just turn it on, puts the fire out.
Definitely. I mean, I'll be for that 100%. I'll put money on the Kickstarter if you start one.
Tony, in all this excitement, it's just irritating me so much. I think I've forgotten to say both of the two numbers that we found it.
Oh, yeah.
So 55 was the number for the Bigfoot, but boy, oh boy, I was just engrossed in that one. And that was because Larry Sanders, 55, was guilty of murdering Jimmy Knighton. And then for this one, Terminator, the flame-throwing robot dog, we're going with the number 30. because there is a 30-foot firing range on this fire. I can't believe
wow.
this is actually real. This wasn't published on April Fool's Day.
No.
Why is this legally available? So, Tony, let's go to the last story, and I just hope this one, Tony, cheers me up a little bit after the last two. And I see what you've got for me here. Seagull Boy 9 wins European screeching competition. Seagull Boy 9 wins European screeching competition. Go on then, let's hear this absolute.
3, 2, 1.
Oh,
That is
now,
actually quite good.
I was going to say, take me back to Malaysia now. But actually, I just heard that. That's brilliant. Imagine that. Imagine if you're just eating your fish and chips and he comes up behind you.
I reckon he's probably really popular at school.
Yeah, 9-year-old British boy has won a European Championship with an uncanny impression of a seagull. Cooper from Chesterfield in Derbyshire travelled to the Belgian coastal town of Depan to compete in the seagull screeching competition. He originally started doing seagull impressions after being nipped by one while he was eating a tuna sandwich. He wanted to become Seagull Boy, like when Peter Parker became Spider-Man after being bitten by a spider. That is amazing. That really is quite remarkable. I do wonder what I've come back in. So we've got robot dogs spitting out fire 30 feet away. We've got Seagull Boy just screeching like a maniac. And then we've got the potential return of Bigfoot, which really is... And I don't want to dismiss that, because obviously it sounds like this guy may have mental health problems. It sounds like maybe he was on drugs, whatever. But what if it was true, Tony? What if it was true?
We weren't
Bigfoot was
there.
downstream.
Exactly, and he is either like, I die, you die. You know, would you... You know, it's dog eat dog, right?
And that might be a use case. It's all coming together. Why do we need robot dogs flamethrowing 30 feet away? Bigfoot is out. The secret's out.
Just hunt
Heal
Bigfoot.
them is just out there. How would you defend yourself against a 12-foot tall Bigfoot robot?
Just burn it.
Flamethrower.
Burn it.
Burn it to the ground. Burn it at the stake, whatever.
To be honest, that would be pretty handy in a zombie apocalypse, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
That would be
you're
really
right.
good.
Yeah.
But you know, with this Seagull Boy, I can imagine you, if you were 9 years old, I reckon you would be competition with this kid. No?
I think I'd be louder than this kid. But
Do you
I'm
reckon
not sure
you'd be
I can
better?
do. Oh! That sounds more like Minnie Mouse.
But hey, listen, achievement, he's European champion. And I'm being serious. Like, if people start going, bullying him for this kid's school, I mean, I don't know what to talk about. Are you a European championship at mimicking a seagull?
No.
What have you done?
No. I hope that he gets celebrated at school. And by the way, his lucky mascot is a small model seagull, which he's calls Stephen and spells with PH, but his parents call Steven Seagal, like the actor Steven Seagal.
You know, Brighton should get him down to Brighton. They call him the seagull,
Yeah,
become the
absolutely.
mascot of some. I mean, it is the mascot, but like to be that actual, you know, put him in a box. You know, meet the players. That'd be great.
I thought you meant like a cage on the pitch.
No, like a literal like premium like viewing box.
Yeah,
That'd be
I think
nice.
it's really impressive. But yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if I've made the right decision coming back, Tony, with some of these crazy stories in the Western world that have come out.
But this is what makes Britain great. Stories like this.
I did think that. This is definitely a
Young
quirky
people of
British
Britain.
story. Yeah.
So I guess what was number on that one?
That is the number 9, Tony, because Seagull Boy is 9 years of age.
Wow. I can't remember when I was. Yeah, I do remember when I was 9-ish.
You weren't doing things like that.
No,
Did you
man, I
win
wasn't
any
even that-
competitions?
Not that I can remember. Not at 9. I was probably watching Pokemon or something.
Maybe you
See, I should have been doing something
productive.
like this. Yeah. So, the numbers I'll be picking for this week's Lotto draw are as follows in numerical order. It's 3, 5, 7, 9, 30, and 55. So yeah, it's good to get back on the wagon, Chris.
Oh, fantastic.
For this lottery draw.
Absolutely fantastic. And listen, I've just got a sneaky feeling
Yeah.
that Bigfoot is back.
Because you're back.
Well, there's something weird about that story, isn't there?
I think it's just a random. Something must come to his head. He just wants to murder his friend. Oh yeah, I thought Bigfoot.
Yeah.
What's something
With all
that's
the
untraceable?
excuses.
Oh yeah, he told. Yeah, we went fishing, and he told me to get a fish, and I found out it was really weird. And like Bigfoot, he's probably Bigfoot's out there trying to murder me. But then again, I wasn't there.
I mean, you do make a good point, don't you? It's like, oh, we went to play football and you told me to kick the ball.
Yeah, it's just like, and plus, one of the things is like, isn't there an easier way to, if you really wanted to murder your friend, when you just shoot him in the head? I don't know, like stab him or something.
Yeah, it was quite vicious the way he did it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was it? What was the...
Actually, how did he kill him again?
Yeah, I sort of wanted to skip over that because I just found it so distressing. But yeah, what did it say?
Physical
strangled.
fight.
Yeah, they got into a physical fight later in the afternoon after he'd become suspicious that Knighton was planning on drowning him and floating him downstream to feed Bigfoot. They got into a physical fight. Sanders then started to strangle Knighton, and his defence team argued he was trying to take control of the situation, not kill Knighton. But the state argued Sanders made sure Knighton died by waiting to let go of the chokehold until he turned blue.
Well, there you go. You know if you want to choke someone out. When they're out, they're out.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of UFC, and I've seen, when the guy's out.
Yeah, you don't just put
You keep
that's
holding.
like a massage. That's just sexy, really, if anything.
Maybe he's getting a bit carried.
Maybe it was.
Oh.
Maybe they were maybe it was a kink. And these two supposed friends were lovers. And now he's had to come up with this crazy story to deny. I think that's actually...
I think you make a very good point. Maybe he was enjoying so much, and then he suddenly... Intrusive moment came in his head. It's like, I can't be seen as being homeless.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I need to get rid of the evidence.
Because where are they from? Somewhere in I don't even know what this is. Oklahoma. Oklahoma.
County.
My apologies. Oklahoma.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's kind of middle of deep America, isn't it?
Well,
Do you
there you
think?
go.
Do you think?
Well, I don't know. Well, at
They
the
need
end of
to
the day,
engage us in this, don't they, to help them figure these crimes out.
I just thought he went rogue if that was the case and just chucked out Bigfoot. I appreciate when you backed into a corner. Let's just see what comes to mind. Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's normally the same thing for me.
Yeah.
Just before we wrap up, Tony, Baby Reindeer, have you watched that yet?
I haven't. I keep
all
hearing
the hype,
stuff about
isn't
it.
it?
It's about
Yeah.
Stalker or something.
It is, and I did watch it. Obviously we can't go through it on the pod.
Yeah.
Because spoiler alert for everybody, but I do want to give a shout out. I think definitely worth watching that, and in many weeks' time, we can delve into the kind of psychology in that one.
Because I was saving that for Christmas. Because I thought it'd be
Nice Christmas show, yeah. Deep, makes people think a little bit, get into the festive spirit.
There's a reindeer in it, is it? That's why I thought, it's a Christmas show. All right. Well, Chris, I guess we can leave it there. And what an episode! I think it was jam-packed.
It's a bumper one. I think it's probably gone on for maybe too long. We might get banned off the App Store.
Well, you've been off for a while, so it's good to know. You've got a lot to unload.
A lot to get off my chest.
Well, I guess you can join us next week on
Win Me the Lottery. Ciao, ciao.
Goodbye.